Hi, I'm Keith Fenwick. We're in the English Lake District and we're on my favourite lake, Lake Derwent Water, and I've chosen this lovely composition to paint for you. It's got a lovely boathouse there. There's a boat at the landing area, but we're not going to put that in. We're in the studio now. I've got a photograph to work from and I've got the drawing. So let's start painting. The first thing we're going to do is to put in the sky, and I'm using a 1.5 inch Hake, which is my sky and texture brush, and we're going to do a very simple sky. I'm going to put a bit of raw sienna just to wet the paper. Just brush it across like that, just like painting the windowsill at home. This is. We'll have a bit of cobalt blue. And we'll just put our sky in like that, look. Just dance across the paper. I don't want a dominant atmospheric sky because there's a lot in the foreground. And one of the golden rules you'll remember is if you've got a very detailed foreground, it demands a very simple sky. Right, there's our simple sky. I will use a round pointed brush, take off the water content, and we'll just push the paint around like that a little bit. And then using a bit of absorbent tissue, we'll just soften it and put in a few clouds like that, a few white clouds. Very simple way to create a sky. We don't need a lot, because as I said earlier, we want it nice and simple. We need to dry that now. Time to put in the mountains now, but the mountain backdrop, we'll put it in simple colours, but it's got to be very simply painted. So I'm going to start by putting in a raw sienna wash just to structure the mountains. Just a few quick flicks like that for the distant mountains. A little blue now. I want recession in this painting, so I'm going to use a little bit of blue. This is cobalt blue, and I'm just dropping bits of colour in like that, look. Then we'll have a little bit of sap green with a bit of Payne's grey. Bit of darker colour, and we'll pick out the peaks here like this. And then we'll just wash it down like that. Just a few quick twitches, look. Spread the colour down like that. Just go behind the tree area, it's going to be covered. And then what we'll do is I'll get a tissue and we'll put it to a wedge. A nice tight wedge. It's just one of many techniques for creating mountain structures. And we'll take some highlights like that. Look, just take some light bits across like that while the paint is still wet. Just wipe it down like that. Right, we've got the foreground mountains to put in. And we'll do these a nice soft purpley colour. The cobalt blue, a bit of alizarin crimson. So let's put these in. Flick it down like that. Bit of raw sienna now and a bit of green. Blend it in. There's all sorts of colours in the mountains. Bit of burnt sienna, not a lot, but we'll just flick a bit of burnt sienna up here and there. And then we'll soften the peaks. Again, just pick out those peaks a bit more. Again, some clean tissue. We'll just take out some light bits like that. And using a very small rigger brush, we'll put in just a little bit of structure here and there. Because there's various falls coming down like this. I don't mean waterfalls, just falls of sections of the mountain. There's a few trees around the bottom growing in the distance around here. So we'll just wiggle these in a bit. Switch to a larger brush. because there's some trees growing along the bottom there. Our twitches down there showing the structure of the mountain. And then we'll turn the tissue to a point, and we'll just dabba-dabba-do and put some highlights in the trees where the lights caught it. Then we need to dry that before we progress any further. It's time to paint the boathouse now. I'm going to use my size 8 rigger. The roof's grey, so I'm using a Payne's grey blue and lots of water, but most of this is going to be covered with the foliage from the trees. We'll put the walls in now, and I want a bit of burnt sienna, a bit of alizarin crimson. A bit brighter, I think. A bit of raw sienna and a bit of alizarin crimson. Let's try that one. Just mix the colour that you want. Same on this side there. Now I need this to be about 1/3 dry, and I'm going to use a wonder knife just to scratch in, and I want to show the structure. Just simply done like that. And then we need to darken the hole inside the boathouse using a bit of Payne's grey and a bit of burnt sienna. It's very dark inside here. Must have this straight. Bit more burnt sienna as I come over here. It's quite dark in there. And then I want a bit of nice burnt sienna. This is like a light area here where there's a big stone there. And we'll just level the top like that. And we'll just put a bit of shadow underneath the eaves across there. Like that. Right, let's put in the area here. The landing stage. And it's basically a dark brown, so we'll have a bit of burnt sienna. It's coming like that. Bit of dark colour, bit of Payne's grey and a bit of red. Gives a nice rich purple colour to get some more depth in there. I want some lights and darks. It's actually stone, but there's a wooden board right across the front. At the upright post, which I'll eventually put in, and nailed to. Right, again, I'm going to use a knife to scratch in this board. There's a board comes about from here. I'll fill that in, I've done it too big. There's a wooden board comes down here. Most of it's going to be covered up anyway, but I'm going to use a wonder knife just to scratch in a few of the stones, because it's actually stone. Right, that will do for that. Now we need to let that dry.